right?
Yep.
Now, think about when Kansas City came back out, they went 1-2-3, and then they punted, and the punt only went 20 yards.
Yeah.
So now that has nothing to do with a flag. There was good defense that was played. Their special teams, man, the kicker, did not do his part. Gave Tom Brady a short distance. He comes back down. He scores.
Yep.
So that's taking advantage of a bad possession.
Absolutely.
That has nothing to do with any flag. The flags were 4 possessions prior. So let's get out of conspiracy theory again.
Absolutely.
Start watching the game with the sound off.
Yep. We say it all the time.
Start watching it with the sound off, and then look at the plays that are happening and see what was actually going on. Because when you go back, you can see the body language of those dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Look at the Honey Badger.
Oh yeah.
Arguing back and forth with his coach.
Well, listen. In his brain and in his mind, I got it. I'll figure it out. Nah. You might be the best guy that we have in that spot. But they ain't really where they digging in at right now.
Right.
They running the ball down our throat now.
Yep.
So how are we going to stop that?
And they setting y'all up for screens.
They setting you up for the big one.
Yep.
And when they got the aggressiveness of them coming upfield, that's the dump off to that tight end to Gronk. That's the quick pop to the tight end underneath. That's the bounce out, those bounce out runs that you got one guy over here now the tight end on offense is bumping your outside linebacker.
Absolutely.
And now you got your running back stuck on the corner.
Yep.
So these is all the details that was going on in that game that allowed Tampa Bay to put added pressure to get a guy like Mike Evans to do a little post, little 15-yard post to get a little. They just chipping away.
Yeah.
They chipping away. And they had Kansas City had no answer for it.
No answers for it at all.
Because they are functioning off of what normally their offense does. Their offense puts pressure on other teams.
Yeah.
So when you go back and when Kansas City during the regular season, when they was losing those games, that's what their offense looked like.
Yeah.
The offense looked identical to what it did last night.
Yep.
And it showed up at the wrong time.
Yeah.
It just what it was, man.
It wasn't their night, man.
But take the conspiracy theories. We not doing that, man.
It just wasn't their night. I mean, they came up with, usually Andy Reid is the type of coach when you give him 2 weeks to prepare for a team, his team comes in prepared. Yeah. Sometimes overly prepared.
And said is right.
Andy Reid also has this history of not making adjustments to the ball.
He does have a history.
Absolutely. I mean, and it showed, like Baldy said, it showed last night. It showed. It showed with their frustration. Like I said, they got punched in the, like Mike Tyson always says, everybody's got a game plan until you get punched in the mouth. They got punched in the mouth and in the gut. Yeah. And they just could not recover from that. Yeah. So again, all in all, like I said, I still have my quirks, but I have to call a spade a spade. I have to get credit where credit is due. Tom Brady, I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to say it this way. For this era, arguably the best to do it. Yeah. 31-9, Bucks defeat the Chiefs. Tom Brady gets 7th ring, 5th MVP in his 10th appearance in the Super Bowl, biggest game of
can't argue
the
that.
NFL series. You're right. Like I said,
I mean you can, but
like I said,
it don't make sense.
Like I said, I still have my quirks, but I'm right here today, live, on something that I take pride in, doing what I do, and I'm telling everybody right now, for the moment, for the era, really, really good.
Real good.
Really, really good. I can't deny that. As much as I could keep going back to my quirks, which is the only argument that I have, and like I said, those are just all my personal quirks, I always call a spade. And for right now, it is what it is. It's nothing I can say about it. I can't deny what is and what I have seen.
Now let's play devil's advocate for a second, real quick. So the way we see Patrick Mahomes,
thanks, Sharika.
The way we see Patrick Mahomes as being the next guy, quarterback wise, he's this dude. He's going to be the future.
Right.
his future literally is based upon the skill set of his wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Because Tyreek Hill listen, Patrick Mahomes may be the engine, mm-hmm. but Tyreek Hill, he's the pistons. He's what allows the juice. He's the reason why all those guys can get everything underneath.
Yep.
Now, what happens to speedy receivers as time goes on?
They break down.
They start breaking down. Hamstring, quadricep, all that stuff start breaking down. Now, I'm not saying
knees.
I'm not saying that's what's going to happen to him.
Yeah.
But in the event that happens to him, now you're going to have to see the type of quarterback he can be without the speed.
Yep.
Because that's what makes the motor works.
Absolutely.
The kid can play. Don't get me wrong, kid can play.
Definitely.
But then you got contractual situations, you got injury situations. All these holes are going to have to be filled.
Yep. At some point,
everything's an adjustment. So how was it that a guy like Tom Brady, right, over there with the Patriots, mm-hmm. right, never had 1,000-yard running back till he got Corey Dillon.
Yep.
Right, they won that year. Mm-hmm. First year he had 1,000-yard running back. The notable wide receiver was Troy Brown.
Shaheed, thanks for tuning in.
You dig me? And Troy Brown, and they put Troy Brown on defense too.
Yep.
Deion Branch was the notable receiver.
Mm-hmm.
The main notable receiver they had was Randy Moss, and they did not win that year.
In 1 year, Deion Branch got an MVP.
Got the MVP. And left and went to Seattle and couldn't catch a cold. So there's a lot going on with the fact that everybody said, and we all said it, mm-hmm. that Tom Brady is a system quarterback.
So James Clack says, don't forget about the offensive line. We're not going to talk about that because those guys got to play. They're on that team for a reason. Cedric Smith says they will need a big receiver at some point. Absolutely. Just for the fact of what Baldy just said. It just happens.
It's no getting around it.
It's going to happen.
There's no getting around it.
It may be sooner, it may be later, but it's definitely going to come up and be an issue.
Outside of Travis Kelce, who's the biggest, and he's a tight end, who's the biggest wide receiver on KC's lineup?
Probably number 17.
Yeah, because guess what?
Sammy Watkins is small.
He ain't as big as Mike Evans.
No, and Sammy Watkins is small.
And that's the difference.
Yep, Cedric Smith says defense, but with that being said, folks, it is 2 minutes past the noontime hour. We hope you have enjoyed the reunion, if you will.
Yes, sir.
And we will come back with some